Hey guys, I'm Fuller,
I'm Jonah.
and this is Off the Line. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the MLS playoffs. Jonah, Atlanta United, Portland. Who you got?
I got Atlanta, most definitely. It's at Atlanta. They're hosting home field advantage. They rarely lose at home. Interestingly enough, the two teams in the Western Conference Final, Portland and Sporting Kansas City, both of them actually did get a result in Atlanta during the regular season. Sporting KC actually got I think it was a 2-0 victory. It could have been a 2-1. So it would have been interesting if they made it in, but Portland made it through. They got a 1-1 draw, but I think my money's still on ATL for sure. They just have more
Some
talent.
swagger to him
Yeah.
too. I don't watch as much MLS as him, so I trust him way more than on that. But I agree, Atlanta's really talented. The little bits of them I've seen, Martinez and Almiron, they're just great. They're fun to watch. And, I have to wonder, is this the last time Atlanta's going to have all these players and Tata together?
Exactly.
So that'll be something that's really, really interesting to see going forward, is if Atlanta can keep a hold of them.
Yeah, it's really building up to that point because we know this will be Tata's last game. It's widely speculated it's going to be Almiron's last game. He's expected to go to Europe. So it's kind of it's kind of been building up to this point. We know certain parts are going to be moving afterwards. So I just think they have way too much momentum right now.
Okay, so I guess moving on, not necessarily from the MLS, but looking at the Portland side, I don't know a lot about Portland. I know the rivalry with Seattle.
Cascadia Cup.
The Cascadia Cup, but outside of that, I mean, it just seems it's two big football cultures in the United States clashing.
Huge.
And that's pretty cool to see, just with everything that's happened in Atlanta in the past few years. But Portland and, that whole area just seems to be, full
you
of,
couldn't ask for two bigger fan
fanaticism
bases.
for the sport. Yeah, it's going to be, I'm very excited to see that. I like to see fan bases like that kind of collide.
Yeah, I have no doubt Portland fans will come out no matter the travel. You got Giovanni Savarese in charge. He took over last December, I think. So he's been in the job about a year now. It was his first head coaching job ever. He came out of their academy. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does. Here he is, not even a full year into his career, and he's in an MLS final. So that's pretty cool. You've got Diego Valeri, Diego Chara, Jeremy Ebobisse, all playing really, really well for Portland right now. So they definitely they don't have an issue playing in transition, and they don't have an issue playing in the final third. It's just going to be interesting to see how they plan to kind of counterattack against Atlanta, and to see if Atlanta counterattacks as much as they have been kind of further on back in the playoffs, because going into the playoffs, finishing up the regular season, they were keeping on their high pressure, high tempo attack. But when the playoffs started, they really kind of came onto more of a counterattacking system. Sit back, draw the opponent in, and then hit them on the counter. So I'm interested to see if they'll keep that or if they'll go to more of an aggressive style, since it's a one-off championship game.
And when is it?
I have no idea.
Well, it'll be exciting to watch. I think we both. We're pretty united in our opinion. Atlanta's going to win, so I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a good game. I'm excited to
It'll
watch
be
it.
a really good game.
So moving on from MLS.
Yeah, let's go across the pond. Let's hit some Premier League. We can start with United.
It was a great game today.
Yeah.
Great game. No, it was awful. Not fun. Southampton are, I believe, bottom of the league. They have one win this season. Just an abysmal team. One of the commentators today said they're sleepwalking towards relegation. So, of course, in my mind, I knew we were already in trouble because, just that comment right there meant the players weren't taking it seriously. And once that lineup came out, a back three with Nemanja Matic, who's played awful this season, and Scott McTominay, Scott McTominay.
He's a 20-year-old midfielder.
Right, he's never played center back probably in his life. It was just poor. It was so bad. And I mean, Lukaku, who up until today had gone almost, I want to say 10 or 11 hours without a goal.
What'd you see out of him today?
Dude, his first touch is terrible. He cannot connect a pass. He does this cool little shimmy, every time right before he gives the ball away. It's just bad. I don't know what to do. I don't know what Ed Woodward's doing. I don't know why Mourinho hasn't been removed yet.
Is this a blame it on Mourinho thing, or is this what did you see? I didn't watch the game. What did you see from Southampton? Because going into this game, they were in one of the poorest forms in the table. So, is there any credit to them? What did you see from them? Like,
they just looked frustrated. They looked like they couldn't get anything going. They looked like they had no idea what the plan was. I feel like for a lot of those players, they never played in a 3-5-2 before. And you're asking them now to do this in the Premier League. And we can't, I mean, yeah, Southampton are a bad team this year, but let's not forget, this is the Premier League. This is like the top of the table. Like, these are all professional athletes. Like, and with that, they just got exposed. And you know it's bad, like, it's very bad for a Mourinho team when the defense is getting exposed, because it's always been, like, his go-to. It's always been what he's, like, known for. And today it's just another example of United and Mourinho letting me down.
I got one more question about Mourinho.
Let's hear it.
And it could be a little, your answer potentially could be a little long-winded, but when you look at Mourinho as a whole and you look at his career as a whole, do you think that the struggles that he's finding now and the struggles that he found at the end of his tenure at Chelsea, do you think that that's down to him changing as a manager, or do you think that's down to the modern professional footballer changing as an athlete?
I think players are changing, and back in the day, you had hard managers like Alex Ferguson, and Arsene Wenger used to be a hard manager, and Jose Mourinho is a hard manager. Now you don't see that as much. You see managers who know to get the best out of their players. They want to make their players feel good. Feel good, play good. That's kind of been yeah, exactly. Pep Guardiola seems to do it really well. I mean, he's had some criticism from some players, but Jose Mourinho does not take that approach. Jose Mourinho will lock you out of the room, essentially, if he's mad at you. And some players go for it. Like, there's a interview going around of Romelu Lukaku saying, I'd run through a brick wall for him, because I understand that tough love. But that tough love is disenfranchising some of the best players on the team. And I think at a certain point, where's your money invested more in, the players or the coach?
But I would tend to agree with you on that. I just feel like Mourinho, it's unlikely that he would have changed his tactics that much. He's pretty much, for his entire career, played a very similar style of defend first, hit him on the counters type of football. So I'm more inclined to think that it is the mentality of the professional athletes that is leading to his downfall, because when you look 10 years ago, he had Branislav Ivanovic, Frank Lampard going to different clubs at Inter. He had Zlatan Ibrahimovic. All of these players said exactly what you said. They would run through a brick wall for him. Now I don't think you're, no offense, I don't think you're Paul Pogba's. I don't think you're Lukaku's. I don't think you're Martial's are those kinds of players. They need a different type of management to get the best out of them.
Absolutely.
And that's not a knock on them as much as it is on a knock on Mourinho, not understanding that he needs to be able to kind of get into that channel.
Absolutely, I agree. Shifting away from that, tomorrow, and I guess going back to last week, Chelsea lost 3-0 to Tottenham. And I was pretty surprised because I had Chelsea winning that game. I mean, Tottenham are a great side this year. It's not a discredit to them, but what Sarri's done so far at Chelsea has been incredible. And, I mean, they came out and they hit Chelsea right on the mouth, and it didn't stop from there. And that's just surprising. I mean, was that at the Bridge or was that at Wembley?
It was at the Bridge, I believe.
So going forward from, a 3-0 loss to your biggest rival, now you're going to play Fulham tomorrow, and that's kind of like, that's still a rivalry in and of itself, with London teams. But what's the mindset now? I mean, do you think Fulham are thinking to themselves, okay, Chelsea are wounded right now, and a 3-0 loss to your biggest rival at home, I mean, that's very damaging to morale.
Form always gets wiped clean in derby games. Chelsea is literally located in Fulham. That's the part of London that Chelsea are in. So I don't think that there is a closer proximity-wise, a closer club to Chelsea than Fulham, so it'll be a great atmosphere at the game tomorrow. But kind of piggybacking off what he said regarding the Tottenham match, It was a very bad match from Chelsea. They just never got the ball rolling. Didn't seem interested, which was probably the biggest concern. I think everybody should have been holding their heads walking off the pitch that game, bar N'Golo Kante, and that's keeping in mind that he's being asked to play like a box-to-box midfielder type, which just isn't what he does.
I don't mean to interrupt. Question about that. What do you think about Sarri saying in the media that Conte is not a DM anymore? That Conte is not good enough to play defensive midfield?
Okay, well, if he said that, I didn't hear the quote, if he said that Conte is not a DM anymore, that's technically true because he's not being played as one. But if the quote was he's not good enough to, that's very concerning for me because
Conte won 2 Player of the Year awards at that
probably
position.
the best defensive midfielder in the world. The
Absolutely,
only person that I hold in that type of esteem is Casemiro. They're very different styles of defensive midfielders, but Conte's like literally one of the best on the planet.
I think he was the one of the chief cogs to that France World Cup win.
And the strangest thing about that whole tactical aspect to me is that he's using Jorginho as a defensive midfielder, and he's using him to play passes. That's all he does: pass left, pass right. Doesn't really he progresses the ball, but that's mainly the job of either Conte or Kovacic or Barkley, whoever he's playing at the time. I don't understand why Conte can't play a defensive mid and then Jorginho still hold that function as the person that acts as
the deep line playmaker.
Yeah, the person that is the catalyst for the transition. Yeah. I don't understand why he can't do that 5 or 10 yards more forward, and then that allows Conte to do what he's literally the best in the world at doing at. But no, a lot of the reaction, some from Chelsea fans, some from just pundits in general, was what kind of tactical changes do Chelsea need to do now that we got beaten by the Spurs the way that we did. And I think that's just kind of an overreaction. I just want to slow it down. Let's remember we were completely unbeaten in the Premier League until that game. I don't want to see any drastic changes. I've loved the football that I've seen from Chelsea this season, so I'm not on board with do we need to change it up? Do we need to play Eden in the 10 and then get another wide player on? I'm not that concerned yet. I don't think it was a tactical problem against the Spurs. I think it was definitely a mental problem, a character problem, so to speak. So I would definitely expect them to pick it back up and get the win against Fulham.
Something that definitely is going to affect Chelsea is the new rules that are going to set in place how many players can get loaned. So as a Chelsea fan, where are you? Are you worried that you're going to lose all these players? Because, these players are not going to want to go back to the youth academy and the U21 teams. They've been playing first-team ball somewhere. So what do you think Chelsea's next step is for those players?
I'm a little bit interested to see what they will have to do legally because these players are under contract. I don't know if Chelsea's going to be forced to buy them out of their contract or if they're going to be allowed to sell them off for transfer fees or what have you. It's not something, as a Chelsea fan, I know that Chelsea gets a lot of money from this and they find diamonds in the rough. So I know that that's a good thing for the club, but as a fan of soccer, it's not something that I'm upset about happening.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the talent being spread around more on a permanent basis other than just smaller teams getting these players on loan. And I honestly think it's to the players' benefit too. So yeah, I'm more interested to see what's going to legally happen with these players' contracts. I haven't looked too much into it. But I'm not necessarily concerned about losing all of these players because when you think about all of these players that we've had out on loan for the past 5 years, 10 years, whatever, I can't think of that many that have come back to come into the first team. Andreas Christensen did it last season, but that was under Conte. He can't buy a minute from Sarri this year.
Yeah.
So other than that, I don't know how many other players have really gone out and been successful through that loan system. You saw it with Victor Moses too. He was out on loan for 5 years straight, had one great season at Chelsea last year, and now he also can't buy a minute from Sarri. So I can't say I'm that upset about it, and I'm concerned about losing players. I'm more just interested how it's going to affect Chelsea financially.
Cool. So looking back, this past week was the Champions League. I think it was what?
Match day 5.
Match day 5. United won. Pretty happy. Qualified last 16.
Sealed.
Marwan Fellaini, the new Maradona.
Yes.
So
I'm the biggest Marwan Fellaini fan.
and I'm like the smallest, but I mean he has a place in my heart. Like I've come around to him. I mean, he shows effort. That's pretty much like it sucks. It's like because showing effort is like the most base thing you should be doing in sport.
I just
Like,
think Marwan Fellaini is an example of a player that is so incredibly good at doing stuff that is just so incredibly not exciting to watch. Like he's
Chesting
so,
the ball.
He's so like functional, if that makes sense. He's like the opposite of flair.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, he's violent. He's like watching. It's kind of like if you told a hockey player like who'd only been like an enforcer in hockey his entire life, and you're like, hey, you're gonna sit in a midfield 3. All you need to do is jump real good. That's all we need you to do. That's it. That's Marwan Fellaini in a nutshell. But so the most exciting group has been obviously PSG, Napoli, Liverpool, and I cannot hesitate. I can't pronounce their name.
Oh, I can't
Yeah,
either. I can't either.
Shout out to you all, though. I'm glad you all are here. But PSG, a lot going in the game. A lot of people were nervous because Neymar and Mbappe had gone out with injuries over the international break recently. Those those injuries proved to not be as bad as thought because they were both there playing. And PSG, they played great. Besides a James Milner penalty kick, like they would have kept a clean sheet. So I think that puts Liverpool in a very weird position going forward.
Absolutely.
Especially because Napoli's not just some walkover team.
This isn't Napoli. This is Carlo Ancelotti's Napoli.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. This is a
Very
coach
good
that
team.
very much knows how to win the Champions League.
Absolutely. He's shown that time. He didn't win it with Madrid, did he?
He did win it with
Madrid.
La Decima.
Yeah.
Come on, they fired him the next year. It's like he won
That's so
your
crazy.
10th Champions League, and then he
Yeah.
loses his job at the end of the season.
That's crazy.
But I'm not out here saying that Carlo Ancelotti is going to take Napoli to the final. I'm just saying that Carlo
He might knock
Ancelotti knows
Liverpool
how to
out.
win Champions League
Yeah.
games. Yes, very much so. So essentially Liverpool needs to win. Okay, let's not pretend that PSG isn't going to PSG is playing some obscure team from some random Eastern European country where we cannot
Never
pronounce
been
the
to,
name. So
don't know. Yeah.
assuming that PSG gets a win in that game, the only way Liverpool advances is if they get a 2-goal victory over Napoli.
Interesting.
I don't know if that can happen.
Yeah, because
They're capable of scoring goals, but Napoli is also capable of scoring goals. When Sarri was there, they were very much the Italian Liverpool in the style that they played.
absolutely.
So
Be a good game.
I expect a shootout for sure.
Yeah. The other team still pretty much English team kicking it around in Champions League, Spurs. Where are they at now?
They're kind of in a tougher spot than Liverpool is. Liverpool needs a two-goal win, but Spurs need to win in Barcelona.
Ooh.
So that's
Oof.
where they go. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where they are. They need to win in Barcelona, or they need Inter Milan to lose to PSV Eindhoven in Milan. So they need help from other places as well as
Their
getting a
destiny is
result.
not sealed.
Yeah, as well
Yeah.
as getting a result in Barcelona. So I would think that
Spurs
Liverpool.
done and dusted.
Yeah, I would think that Liverpool has a better chance than Spurs. I think that Spurs are almost done and dusted.
Is it worth talking about City at this point? They won their group pretty convincingly. They lost to Lyon.
Yeah.
I
think
City are going to go well this year. I think this is the year City go to a final.
Yeah, semifinal bare minimum. Finals the expectation.
That's the expectation. Yeah, is that they can't not make the final.
Right.
Even if they win the Premier League at this point, I think this season still is a failure for City if
absolutely.
they don't have a good Champions League show out.
I think that the way that Pep's tenure at City is going is turning very quickly into the way his tenure at Bayern Munich is turning into where the league is becoming less and less important because it's kind of coming to them easier, unfortunately. So more emphasis is definitely going to be put on the Champions League. Absolutely.
Well, I think that wraps up this week's episode of Off the Line. I'm Fuller.
I'm Jonah.
Make sure to give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter, and have a great week.